Hi, Scott.
Hello. How are you, Mr. Gowan?
Sweet as hell. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. There you are in another hotel room.
That's the way it works. It's time for Scott Itter's pillow talk.
There you go. No doubt. It's great to see you, man.
You too. How you
It,
been?
good, good.
Nice.
You got a ton going on, man. It's always great.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. To a point. No solo album while you got stuff going on, but
No, we discussed that last time. It's the Styx schedule is just too intense. It's
yeah,
just too intense to try to focus on anything else is kind of just going to be I don't want it to be. It's a distraction, but it could become an irritant. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't need that
yeah.
at all. I prefer to have it sitting there ready, and when the time comes, the time comes.
Oh, and you can give it its due. It's
That's it.
deserved
The
attention.
internet is it's the multi-edged sword that it is. Um, the danger is, I mean, the wonderful thing is, okay, you get a worldwide release, which was something that was impossible unless one of the four labels said so back in the 80s and 90s, before
Right.
the internet days. But the downside of that is it's a worldwide release, which means it can get completely lost if you're not on it every day as far as promoting it and letting people know that it exists
hmm
and getting um, a whole promotion campaign behind it, which is part of the success of why Styx are so successful is they've always done taken great strides to make sure that people are aware of what they're doing and where and when and how and what the history of the band is, etc. All these things are part of what build the lore and the story of the band, and people come toward it because they know where to find it.
Yeah, definitely. Like we're getting together now. We're going to talk about the tour.
Yeah,
People might not know about it if we didn't do that.
that's
Uh,
right.
I was going to give you an introduction, but you're a regular here, man. You got a cot in the back almost, and I so appreciate it. Yeah,
We got
yeah,
a king size bed in the back. What are you talking about?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no. We just continue on.
cool.
It's
Uh,
funny what you said though. People wouldn't know about it. This tour has been this is the biggest summer tour we've ever done. This is capacity every single night. I mean, like I get some of the numbers like from Charlie Brusco, our manager. Like I know that Indianapolis we were at 18,000. It was the same for St. Louis. They're all capacity. Every single place we've played. Last night was the same thing. We were in where were we go? We're in Boston. Same thing. It's to the top of the hill and beyond.
yeah,
I'm in Bangor, Maine today, and it'll be the same tonight. So
yeah.
it's quite astounding how people seem to be very aware of it, and especially people whose cities we're not getting a chance to get to. They're very vocal about their displeasure, and we're going to try to make it up to them as soon as possible because
And
we
it,
love
yeah, I mean it's hard. Especially now you've got Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Foreigner
them. Yep,
with you. You've got
yep,
John Waite with you.
yep,
A legend himself.
yep.
To get all of that, the logistics of getting all of that together and moving it, all of that, moving it
Yes.
here and then here and here and here, very difficult.
I mean, I believe it's 14 trucks on this tour. I think
Gee.
14 trucks and one, two, three. Let me think about that. Probably like nine buses. I could be a little bit under on that. That's a lot of humanity to be moving around and a lot of gear, etc. And sometimes the reason that we don't make one a particular city is the availability of that venue may be not possible on a date when we're in that vicinity where we could actually make it.
Right.
So there are logistic things like that thank I'm very grateful that I have nothing to do with that whatsoever.
I can't even imagine that. Can you even
So,
imagine that? Putting
no,
all that stuff together? Oh, Christ,
no,
that's just
I,
crazy.
I can't. That would be work.
That
Yeah.
And it's great. It's crazy what you do too. Getting out there every night.
Oh,
As we get older, not that you get older, but a lot of us do get older. It becomes more difficult to get out of bed in the morning and to get to work and to run around and jump off of keyboards and stuff like that. Uh,
yeah.
you know, uh,
It's that it's getting myself ready for that every single day is the yeah, it's the challenge. I guess I could say that it's also it's the mandate. Quite honestly, it's the mandate. It's what it takes to get ready to. I look at my new superhero of people doing it in their later in life, and that would be Mick Jagger. And when I see what he's able to do at 81, I feel I feel I'm underachieving.
we all do.
Yeah, and that's perfect. I have a goal of there's someone that is doing it, and if I follow those kind of steps in my own fashion, I might be able to keep doing this for another week or so.
Yeah, get through one tour at a time, right?
That's
Uh,
right. You really have to stay focused on the day. That's
yeah,
right.
I would imagine. I would imagine. And I'm listening to you got on June 11th released a Renegades and Jukebox Heroes tour
Correct.
CD. It's landed on the charts.
Yeah,
Venue sales alone.
that's right.
That says a whole bunch. Now
And,
I'm listening to
and
this. Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
I think there's one semi truck that just has that on board, and they sell out every night, every single night. The people want that memento, that vinyl album. It just goes to show that that art form of the album has it's never gone away, but it's certainly revived to a point now where people are hungry for that tactile experience that is beyond their phones and their computers, and something that they want to embrace as a physical piece of evidence entered into the court of your mind, and that represents, a great night in your life, a great concert that you want to refer back to over and over again, as I do with the great concerts that I've gone to. But I think this was a great idea to do a vinyl album of that's a combination of Foreigner, Styx, and there's one John Waite song on there as well. And honestly, we can't hang on to them. I don't know how many pressings it's gone into now.
It's just awesome. I love seeing that because it's timeless music.
Yeah.
It's just so great to see. Um, when are we going to lower the key for Tommy Shaw? I'm listening to this thing and it's like,
We
the
we
legacy bands, they lower the keys a little
They
bit.
do. They do. And it's understandable. I mean,
He hits everything.
I'm not, it's very, very understandable when, if, I mean, I just heard last night that Aerosmith had to cancel their tour because of
Yeah,
Steven Tyler's,
injury.
difficulty with his voice. Hopefully that'll rectify. But no, we are very proud of the fact that we do all the Styx catalog in the original key. We're still able to do it, so why not?
Insane.
We have to,
Insane.
it's what?
It's insane.
Yeah, well, it's possible to do if you're in a band like Styx, which I don't know of any other band that's just like this, where we are very diligent in doing whatever we need to do to stay as authentic to to those great albums that they recorded in the 70s and to the records that we've done recently. I mean, there's some pretty high notes on those ones too.
No doubt.
So it's like but we're fortunate. Basically, we're fortunate that our focus and our diligence in this area has kept pace with our wishes to do the songs in their original keys.
It's insane. It's great, man. Now you've got a few changes. Ricky, 20 years down
Yeah,
the road, he's
yeah,
decided to step aside. And I'm so happy for him. He seems like he's really in a good place and
yeah,
that's great. But you get another brother, one bonded by actual blood in the
yeah,
band, your brother Terry in the band.
yeah. And
How
you
how
see,
is that experience for you?
honestly, it's exceeded my expectations, quite honestly, because he really has stepped up to to the plate, if I can use the baseball analogy, and absolutely, it convinced everyone on day one that this was the right decision. He and Todd, you see, the solo shows that I still do in Canada, and I started doing again in 2010. I can't believe I've been doing them now for 14 years.
Yeah.
Todd would come along with us and drum from 2010 to 2020. He likely will again at some point. My son Dylan took over from 2021 to the present, but now he's ensconced in a couple of major bands, one out of Boston,
Yeah.
that's playing a lot. So anyway, Todd and Terry had formed a very extremely viable rhythm section. I was really impressed with how they played together. And although, when the question came up of who to pick, they didn't consult me first. But when it got to me and I said, if we need someone quickly, which we did, Terry could carry it, no problem. But I can understand, and then I can understand if you don't want to have a brother thing again. Well, the funny thing is, it had already been suggested by other band members before they even got to me. And Chuck, funny enough, ended up being extremely vocal about it and said, "Look, I think that first of all, he knew that Terry was a tremendous musician, and secondly, he said, I loved when we had brothers in the band before. I think this is a band that should have brothers again." So
That's
Terry's
cool.
been in the band, and I just thought that was a great way to put it. And he is, Scott, he is loving the experience very, very much.
Good. Good. And that's, it's so cool. It is good to have, brothers in the band again.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. It brings back memories of John and,
Yeah, I also say, like the fact that Terry, prior to joining Styx, he's been on records, on my solo records anyway, along with, Alex Lifeson of Rush, Jon Anderson of Yes, Jerry Marotta and Tony Levin and David Rose of Peter Gabriel's band. Robert Fripp, he's on a record that he's on. So I mean, there's all of that. Plus, he's done musical directing for so many artists that you'd be. Well, he's done two major events he did with Leonard Cohen in Toronto, and a lot of others as well that I won't even mention. So he had a very, very his resume was extremely strong to begin with.
right.
So he was ready for this, and it was the right time for him to step in.
Yeah, it's great to have him. It is. It really is. And you mentioned, I want to go back to Dylan a little
Sure.
bit. I just did an interview with Adrienne Cowan.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's the band, Seven
Seven
Spires.
Spires.
Yes.
And she mentioned a young man named Dylan was sitting in on drums, and I
Wow.
was like, and I did the research, and I was like, Dylan Gowan, that's the same Dylan Gowan, isn't it? And yeah, she was saying that he looks like he's going to stay, and he's found a home, and they're a sensational band, and it was so cool.
They are a sensational band. Quite honestly, so Adrian, I've looked at all the YouTube clips that they sent from this European tour that Seven Spires just did about 2 months ago. They did 14 countries in 17 days. How would you like that schedule?
And she's in another band.
Oh yeah,
Avantasia. She's insane. She's
a tremendous vocalist, great front person for the band, and the players, they're tremendous. And they similar to, in a way, they had a worldwide kind of audition for the part because their drummer, I think he joined Testament, was
yes.
Yeah. And so they had a worldwide audition for it, and Dylan came to the top of that list, and he was in the band long before someone said, "Hey, is your dad in the band Styx?"
Pretty cool.
He's like, "Yeah."
But he gets, that, and that's never used for him. Hey, this is my dad.
In the metal,
he gets his jobs, man. He earns that.
Oh no, he's absolutely great.
He is amazing.
I mean, for him to step in, and do my solo shows, when Todd had done them for 10 years,
Yeah,
right away speaks to his abilities. Yeah, I have
absolutely.
no hesitation in telling you just how strong he is as a drummer.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy great. And I want to ask you too. I just talked with Jon Anderson. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
great.
and he, like for you, I know he was a hero of yours.
Yeah,
And a hero of all of us who love music, really.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but you do Moonlight Desires with him.
yeah,
Um, and I always think of the video. Uh, you know,
yeah.
in the Mayan pyramids and stuff. It's so dramatic and so beautiful. Um, did you do anything else with John when you did Moonlight Desire?
Well, no. The
Yeah.
thing is, did you ask him about that experience as
No, I
well?
only had 20 minutes with him, so
If
I
you get
couldn't.
another chance, yeah. John, first of all, we just kind of we clicked right away, basically, is the way it felt to me. His sense of humor, his devotion to what he does, and it's funny because when we first met, he'd heard a little bit of the Strange Animal album, and when we first met, I was really I had to try to keep a cork on the bottle of what a huge Yes fan I am, because we were just kind of gabbing about music and et cetera, et cetera. And I had to kind of contain that because I was making a record, and the fact that he said yes, he'd come and sing on it, on that song that where we were going to put a guitar solo in that spot that he takes a solo in Moonlight Desires. And basically, he just riffed as if he were like an instrumentalist. That's why he's the do 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 do.
Oh, it
That
just
whole
sounds
thing.
like the heavens are coming
Oh
down.
yeah, it just
Oh,
the whole thing opens up at
he
that
does
moment.
that.
And well, that's his talent. Funny enough, Terry, we talked about Terry. Terry was in the studio that day when he did that, and did that part. And what's funny is, we were really pleased with it. I remember in the studio. That's in 1986, right?
Mhm.
But when I called him a few months later, early in 1987, I said, "So we're going to do a video for Moonlight Desires, and we're going to do it on the Mayan pyramids in Mexico." And John was in England at the time. And I said, when it comes to your part, the best thing to happen would be to have you there singing it, rather than just go into, I usually break into animation or something like that in my videos back then.
Mhm.
And he had recently consulted someone, he said, who told him that someone's going to invite you to a warm climate because I think it was like February of 87. And he said, and the person said, you should take him up on that. So, like literally within a week, the two of us were standing on two Mayan pyramids. I was on the Pyramid of the Moon, and John was on the Pyramid of the Sun, in Mexico City, an area called Teotihuacan. And we were on that pyramid at around 4:30 to 5 a.m. because that's when the helicopter, as the dawn came up, as night changed into day. We used the planets and everything to kind of work with us.
Just insane. It's
The
so cool.
helicopter came over the horizon, and we've got a PA system down below blasting Moonlight Desires. And John I'm thinking, I was a 15-year-old in my basement singing along with Close to the Edge, trying to harmonize with Jon Anderson. And here I am, it was only 12 years later. I'm I'm on a pyramid at the break of dawn. Jon Anderson's there. We're singing together, and this is just one of life's highest points that I don't know if I can ever feel a greater feeling of euphoria than this moment. And funny enough, he got a lot of something happened with him there as well. And I can't really describe what it was, but he's told me on a number of occasions that was a very kind of a pivotal moment in his life. And I don't know exactly how that manifests itself, but I feel like somehow we were bound to kind of somehow connect. And although we haven't since, I feel like that perhaps was the moment that we were supposed to, that the universe decided this should kind of connect and then drift into its own direction. But um, if at any time the opportunity should ever arise again, of course I would jump at it.
Yeah, it's magical. What just the one song is it is it's magical.
Thanks.
It's really great. Uh, Back to Terry.
Yeah.
It's been a while since a new record.
Yeah.
Uh, is anything getting written? And is Terry a writer as well?
Terry's a very good writer.
Yes. Okay.
Terry's a very strong writer. The we almost have the next album completely written. We might be
Wow.
two or three songs, maybe two th songs under. So it's almost done. The thing, Scott, is going back to the top of our conversation here, is the time to devote to that because there's such a demand, insatiable demand to see the band live right now. We could play 365 days a year. If it was a leap year, we'd take a day off. But we, I think if I had a crystal ball, oh, but boom, I'd say we will likely start doing something in earnest as far as recording seriously of this album, probably November or December of this year. That would be the earliest that we'd have an opportunity
Right.
to really put the shovel in the ground and say, okay, we're off. Yeah.
That it's just great to hear that there's going to be another album that it
Oh,
is getting written.
well, here's the thing. That's our intention. And we have the songs but we really, as we mentioned before, we really are trying to stay as focused as possible on the day and holding everything to the standard that we've been able to this point, and exceeding that whenever possible. Because it's a band that's existed for 53 years, and really, I think part of the trajectory of that, why it's been so successful, is obviously one, the people who've been in the band right from the beginning, and two is that there's a very pragmatic approach to making this function. So it's our intention that the next record should start ASAP, and
Yeah,
hopefully that's what's going to happen.
that's cool. That's cool. Now, I noticed in this set list, you've added the best of times.
Right.
That was thrown around for a while. You always read the forums. I do see the fans' reactions and things like that. There's some that are polarizing, the Mr. Robotos.
Yeah.
Some love it, some hate it. But the best of times is one that a lot of people really like to see it. It hasn't been done. Put me in the room in that conversation.
It, people,
What's it?
it was
Yeah.
much like Mr. Roboto. You began to listen to the fact that a lot of people were missing that song from the set.
Mhm.
Um, and I thought, okay, it's a very well written song with a great sentiment to it, and the time to kind of bring it back into the fold will present itself. And sure enough, with Foreigner and their hit catalog, it was actually Will who said we should add Best of Times, and we had done it in the acoustic set when I first joined the band. For the first 2 or 3 years, we did a little acoustic break in the middle of the show, and we would do a little segment of Best of Times. We actually added it for one or two shows, as I recall, probably before Glenn had left, but probably something like 2002. We added it for one or two shows, and it just didn't fit with where the band was at the time. We were really leaning into the rock side of things heavily at that juncture. But now, we've got a very, really strong balance of things, and we've got the voices, and we've got the ability to do the song and do it, to our completely unbiased subjective opinion. We think we can do it very well. And we recorded it, listened it back through the PA, etc., on for weeks before we decided to do it, much as we did with Mr. Roboto. And I it's going over so big every single night.
Yeah,
So,
that's
it's that's the only test that matters. If there's
seriously.
18,000 people on their feet at the end of it, big grins on their faces and arms in the air, then we know we've done something that's worthy how good that song is.
Yeah, totally. Was there anything else thrown around to add to the set list? Anything that almost made it?
Um, Good point. Well, no, well, yeah, I think, yeah, I think other songs from the Grand Illusion record, we still like doing, Superstars, or we talked about that one, I think, briefly. Um, I hope we bring that one back next. We brought back Queen of Spades earlier this year. That one was definitely because that goes over really, really well.
Yeah.
And so we thought maybe that one can make it into this. But then the tenure, the tone of this whole tour with Journey, Best of Times fit better, so that we
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, with the Foreigner hit, set,
Yes. So
it's
it's a night of it's 4 hours straight of all hits. The only song that we've added that's from this millennium is the title track of Crash of the Crown. And it's that it merited that because going to number one on the Billboard Rock album chart and being the title track, that merited getting its moment there. And the fact that we have three lead vocalists on it and it kicks off with JY, it gives JY another moment to lead vocal next to his Miss America. And
it's great.
there you go.
And as fans and lovers of the band, we think about JY. He is the elder statesman next to Chuck, of course.
Yeah.
Um, we know he lost his wife
Yeah.
last year, and
Yeah.
he's had some difficulties with that.
Mhm.
How is JY doing? Well, mentally, physically? He's a happy guy.
He's happiest in our company, I believe. I believe that because I don't see him when he goes home for a time, but uh he seems somewhat relieved anytime he's back on the road because I guess there are I don't even want to say challenges. Their life's reality, I think, probably really hits him square in the heart when he's at home, and the distraction and the beauty of having thousands of people, throw the accolades at him. And as you mentioned, I mentioned that he is the legacy. He's the spirit, really, that keeps this band going.
Yeah.
And
Would you see the band continuing on if he did step
oh, I have no idea. I really
down?
don't. I don't know how. I don't know what would happen if I know
Yeah.
this that the prediction that I completely disagreed with back in 1990. We're going to go back to Yes for a minute. Rick Wakeman, is one of my all-time favorite musicians,
Oh yeah,
keyboard players, and a very clever guy and very funny guy. And I
he
only met
is.
him one time, very briefly. John introduced me to him, but he I read an interview with him in Melody Maker, I think it was 1990. I think that was the magazine. And they asked him if it bothered him at that time, when there are other members in Yes, and it's not the classic lineup of Wakeman, Howe,
Right.
Anderson, Squire, and Alan White or Bill Bruford. And uh, Rick Wakeman gave what to me was kind of an odd answer back then. And now I completely agree with him. He foresaw this. He said, "Why would I be upset if there are different members? There was a Yes before I joined it. There was a Yes when I was in it. It's Yes when I drop out of it for a while and then come back into it." He said, "They're the very same as 200 years ago, there was a London Symphony and they played a lot of Beethoven. And today there's a London Symphony, they play a lot of Beethoven. Beethoven was dead when they first played it. Secondly, every member of the London Symphony that played in it 200 years ago, to my knowledge, is gone. I'm paraphrasing. And there will be a London Symphony 100 years from now, just as there will be a Yes 100 years from now. And I thought at the time that doesn't make sense. It has to be that lineup. And then I realized, since classic rock has been the great musical state, I think I've said this on your show before,
Mhm.
and a few others, pardon me, the great musical statement of the last half of the 20th century. The music has withstood the ultimate test, which is time. It has exceeded that, and we're a quarter century into the next millennium, and people are coming out in droves, and people who weren't even born when these records were made. You might as well ask some of them, how can you be out here enjoying this concert? You weren't even born. You don't know what this is all about. Well,
Right.
that was ridiculous.
Right.
Here we are playing with Foreigner. a band that was put together entirely by Mick Jones, none of whom were on the classic records.
Yep.
And to the audience, it's the fact that the Foreigner name and that music has continued on and is in the right hands. And if we feel that the Styx legacy remains in the right hands, then long after I've departed and the rest of us, it's conceivable
Mhm.
that there could be a Styx.
Yeah, that's such a great answer.
It's the only answer I can come up with that has any validity because, again, it's extremely subjective. You know,
Right.
God, I even remember as a kid, I remember when Brian Jones wasn't in the Rolling Stones anymore, I thought, it won't be the same. As a kid, I thought that. I'm 11 years old, right? And Mick Taylor came in and they did the two biggest records, Sticky Fingers and Exile on Main Street.
Right,
The
right.
two quintessential Stones albums came in. And then when I finally got a chance to see them live, it was Ron Wood on stage.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, and I might have said this to you again before, Ron Wood is the third guitarist in this band. He's every bit as much a Rolling Stone as anybody on that stage.
Hmm.
He just is.
Yep.
He exudes the spirit of that band. And I began to
Totally.
come to the idea that the spirit of a band can survive, can withstand, if the right person is on stage, can withstand the extreme difficulty of losing an original member. And if there were ever any greater proof of that, when one of the greatest musicians of the 20th century and still Peter Gabriel left Genesis, and yet the band survived because the drummer stepped forward and it turned out that he was Phil Collins.
It's just
So I don't know what more you can say about this, but people can cling to their own versions of this. I have versions of it in my own mind where I believe bands that have lost certain members the spirit of that band has not withstood that challenge. So I'm a fan as well. But in our case, I don't know. I've been in the band now over 25 years. Todd's been in the band since 1995. Seems to be doing extremely well.
Yep.
So
Things are going pretty good.
entirely up to people how they want to view that, and I understand, and
It's great,
come and see us.
yeah, and I love, when you do these tours, you go out, look around you. When you go see the band, people look around you. There are people, that look like me or older, and then there's kids that are out there on their own. They're not getting dragged there, but
Exactly.
they come see the
Scott,
band.
I think we talked.
Great.
I started noticing this about 2009. I began to notice in the audience, these are not younger siblings. These are not people's kids. These are
Right.
people here of their own volition because they're in clumps of like 6 to 8, and they're
Yep.
in their 20s, or some of them are in their teens. And now every single night, it's no surprise to me. Every night we go on stage, roughly half the audience are under 40, and roughly probably 3/4 of that group are under 30.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So they
Wow.
weren't even born when the classic rock era was at its height.
Yep.
Okay. They weren't even born. And yet the songs, the melodies, the lyrics have withstood that test of time, and they embrace it concurrent with their own lives. So congratulations to all the musicians that have ever made that happen.
Well, and it's a testament to what you guys do now too. You're
It's a
bringing
testament to everyone that's been in Styx.
right.
It's obviously the right people have been in it, all along in order for it to last this long. I mean, that's
Cool.
we're alive and well.
Yeah, no doubt. Have you done any sessions or anything like? I know you're constantly busy, but
I do the odd one when I'm at home. Funny
I know,
enough.
and I think about that, and there's like, Lawrence
Oh,
Common shows up on some song, and nobody's
yeah.
telling us anything.
I
So
was on a guy's, oh shoot, his name is John. There's a fellow that asked me to be on a blues record of his. And I'm not a blues player really, but he wanted that kind of something different in there. So I played on his record. That went to #1. A guy, fellow from Vancouver. I should know his name as soon as we finish. What else did I do recently? I did for another album. A guy was doing a David Bowie cover, a very difficult piece as well. Did that one. That was really fun. Oh, I did two songs for a movie last year. A movie, kind of a. It was an R.L. Stine story. He's the guy that wrote Goosebumps. If your
Right,
kids ever
right.
knew Goosebumps, and that movie's called Zombie Town, and I put two songs in that, and one of them was nominated as best song in a movie of last year.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Are they under the Gowan name?
Under Gowan, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that was called Zombie Hideout.
See, now you know, there's going to be droves of people watching. They're going to be tick-tacking away at the keyboard,
Yeah.
and sales are going up on the R.L. Stein movie.
Yeah, you can find that. You can find it. I was really pleased to do that. But a one-off like that, you see, is different from doing a separate solo album because a one-off like that,
Right,
the movie is the promotion, right?
right,
So I didn't have to worry about that. There was no
right. You
live
put
album.
you put your part down, and everybody
Yeah,
else takes care of it.
that's right. That's right.
It's kind of nice. Yeah, that's kind of nice.
That was good.
Any more chilly beaches or anything like that?
Yeah. So there's a new cartoon that I just did a voiceover for.
You did. Awesome.
Yeah. It's not out yet, but I'll tell you, it's called, it's supposed to come out in the next year or so. It's a completely animated movie, so those are very difficult well, not difficult. They're time consuming to complete. Anyway, it's called. Oh shoot, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it or not. Maybe I shouldn't say it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's yeah,
We'll look.
it's an
We'll look.
animated cartoon. Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be
Yeah.
all over. It'll be all over my social media crap as soon
There we
as.
go. Yeah, 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 yeah. See, that's great. I love because that I enjoy that. Especially Chili Beach to hear your voice in
Yeah,
animated character. It's
I'm
got to be.
amazed that you even know what Chili Beach is. That's a
Oh
Canadian
yeah. Oh yeah. Well,
cartoon.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's just it. We love you guys. And we study this stuff. We look at your history. We look at what.
Honestly, Scott, I played three solo shows in the beginning of July because we had the first week we took it off, and I went and played in Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, three GOWAN shows. The front couple of rows were Styx fans that had just seen us the previous week.
Yep.
So I love that so much, that they've discovered the background that I, it was my pre Styx days,
Yeah.
and they really, yeah, they really celebrate that to such a degree that I could never have imagined, and I absolutely I love
Well,
seeing that.
and that's huge. What, 12 Juno Award nominations, two wins, a star on the Scarborough Walk of Fame. I mean, before Styx, it's not like you were, lonely at home with nothing to
No,
do.
no, I don't know. There was that whole life before. I mean, the reason it's funny because Donald K. Donald is this famous promoter in Canada, in Quebec, particularly. When he called me and about opening the show for Styx in Montreal in 1997, so 2 years before I joined the band,
Mhm.
his pitch was because I said to him, Donald, I haven't opened for anyone in Canada. The last band I opened for was in 1985 was Supertramp,
Wow.
but he said, look, they've just the new Montreal Forum is only 3 months old. This is one of the first acts to be in there. If not, I don't know if we were even the first, but if Styx were. But he said, look, you headlined the Montreal Forum, 12 years ago. This is an opportunity for you to play the new Montreal Forum. So you would have done, so it was kind of, it was with that I'd had that experience in my background that he even suggested it.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that's the night that we met and everything clicked. And Charlie Brusco, our manager, came up and saw that show and realized 2 years later that, perhaps and then the intervening year in 1998, I think we've talked about this when I played at the opening of Princess Diana's Memorial
Yeah.
I had an original piece that I played called Healing Waters with the BBC National Orchestra.
Mhm.
And I was on the bill with Duran Duran and Sir Cliff Richard and all these other big acts. And it was at Diana's home. There were 19,000 people at that one. Todd Zuckerman was at that show because he was hired to play on that day as well. And he came up to me and said, remember that show you did with us? I'm in Styx. And so a few months later, when my name came up, Todd said, "I just saw that guy again in England. And he did, playing with the BBC National Orchestra, which is, kind of the London Symphony
Yep.
members." And he said, I think he'd be good for the band." And so it kind of everything, those kind of strings kept kind of pulling us together. The puppet masters of the universe were.
Yep. Yep. Those puppet masters can be pretty magical, man.
They can.
Yeah. All of this stuff, your career before Styx, your career with Styx, so many great things, so many, the Jon Anderson experience, all
Yeah.
of this, playing with all these great players, Tony Levin, and I just,
Yeah.
is there something else, something, something that you've always wanted to do in your life that,
I hope, well, yeah, I hope there's something else.
well, I mean, is there a certain
I
certain
no,
thing that you've always wanted to
honestly,
do?
I don't want to push the gods of rock too hard because they're very kind to me. If they want to toss me another bone, I'm always ready to receive and follow your instructions. I just trust in that. Honestly, I've been terribly lucky and terribly. I'm very, very, you get to a point in your life where you just have incredible gratitude for the things that have come your way that you've been able to enjoy, and that's really where I am.
Yeah. And I don't know if I would call it luck, but
There's a luck factor.
little.
There's always a luck factor dancing around over here, and when it deals you a good card, it helps if you recognize it and don't go, give me another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that inspiration meets, perspiration,
That's right. That's what
kind
it
of
is.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Preparation meets opportunity.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Preparation H means something else. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we'll have all the
Powers
links.
quote there. Yeah.
I'll have all the links to the social media so we can keep track
Yeah.
of
Thank you, Scott. That's
all
great.
that stuff going on,
Yeah.
and the
Love that.
tour's coming to town. I hope to see you there later this
Yep.
month.
That Tinley Park.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Such a great tour. Renegades and Jukebox Heroes tour.
Yeah.
Don't miss it. It's super cool. Lawrence, always great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Scott. And
Yeah.
congrats to your daughter on becoming a nurse. That's fantastic. And
Yeah.
we'll life goes on.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And it's a great thing. Love you, my friend.
All the best.
I'll see you soon.
Cheers. Great to
All
talk
right.
to you.
You
Bye
too.
now.
Bye bye.
Bye.